Welcome to English Story Collection. Today I am going to tell you a story about a woman who never spoke at a meeting and the one sentence nobody else heard. The company is called Brightwater Packaging. 31 people. A warehouse near the river in Portland, Oregon. They make boxes and packaging for food companies. Nothing about it is exciting. Nobody writes newspaper articles about a company that makes boxes, but the work has been steady for 11 years, and 31 people pay their rent with it, so it matters to them. Every Monday at 9, the whole team meets in a room with a long table and a whiteboard nobody has cleaned properly since March. Marcus Hale, the manager, always starts. Marcus is a good man. That is worth saying early, because of how this story ends. But he talks in order to think. He thinks out loud, slowly, and he does it every single week. Greg Doyle from sales talks over him. Greg is not a bad person either. He is simply never quiet. He has an answer ready before you have finished your question, and the answer is usually about Greg. After half an hour, nobody in that room is listening to anybody. In the far corner sits a woman called Claire Bennett. She opens a small black notebook and she writes. Claire is 34. She plans production. How many boxes, by which day, on which machine, with which paper. It is careful, unglamorous work, and she is extremely good at it. If Claire is ill for a week, the warehouse feels it by Wednesday. Everybody knows this. Nobody has ever said it in a meeting. People in the company know her name. They do not know her voice. Some of them think she is shy. Some of them think she does not really care about the company. Neither of those things is true. One Monday, Greg looked across the table and said, Claire, you can speak, you know. Nobody here bites. Everybody laughed. It was not cruel. It was just a joke in a room already full of noise. Claire smiled. Then she looked down and wrote something in her notebook. She had been in that room for 2 years. In 2 years, she had not said one full sentence in it. She did speak once. In her 3rd week, somebody had put the wrong paperweight on a large order, and Claire could see it on her screen while the meeting was still going. So she raised her hand, waited, and said it. Marcus said, Sorry, 1 second, and turned back to Greg. They were arguing about a price. It was a good argument. It went on for 9 minutes. By the time they finished, the conversation had moved 2 topics forward. Nobody came back to her. Claire never found out whether Marcus had heard her at all. The order shipped on the wrong paper. It cost the company about $4,000. Nobody ever connected that to a woman with her hand up in week 3. So she stopped raising her hand, and she started writing things down instead. That was 2 years ago, and it seemed at the time like a very small decision. Here is the thing that nobody at Brightwater knew about Claire. Her mother ran a small shop on 8th Street for 30 years. Claire did her homework behind the counter from the age of 7. She watched several thousand people come in, buy something, and leave again. And her mother told her one thing that she never forgot. A customer tells you what is wrong, only once, quietly, usually on the way out, with a hand already on the door. They do not say it twice. They are not angry when they say it either, which is exactly why it is so easy to miss. It sounds like a small comment about nothing. So if you are talking at that moment, her mother said, you will never hear it, and you will not know that you missed it. That is the hard part. You will simply notice, months later, that they stopped coming. Claire has one friend at work, Dana Reyes from accounts. Dana talks enough for both of them, which is exactly why it works. You have to open your mouth in those meetings, Dana says at lunch every few weeks. Nobody sees you in there. Claire says that she does speak. She just writes it instead. Every Monday evening, she sends Marcus a short email. What she heard. What she thinks matters. 3 or 4 lines. Never more than that. Dana puts down her fork and looks at her. And does he read them? Claire does not answer that question. She has never once answered it. Brightwater's biggest client is Harper Foods. They make frozen dinners and sell them all along the West Coast in big orange boxes. You have probably walked past a shelf of them. Harper is 40% of everything Brightwater earns. 40% from one client. The contract is renewed every autumn, and it has been renewed 7 years in a row. That is the quiet danger of a very good client. After 7 years, people stop talking about them like a client and start talking about them like the weather. Harper will renew. Harper always renews. Nobody ever decided that. It simply became true in the room, the way things do. On the Harper side, there is a man called Ray Fletcher, operations director. He is not a talker. On a 1-hour call, Ray might say 4 sentences, and 2 of them will be hello and goodbye. It is worth stopping on Ray for a moment, because the whole story turns on the kind of man he is. Ray does not complain. He does not send warning emails. He does not call you and say, "We have a problem. We need to talk about it." What Ray does is mention things. Once. In an ordinary voice, usually at the end of something, when everyone is already halfway out of the meeting. If you catch it, he will tell you more. If you do not catch it, he assumes you heard it and decided it was not important. And then he starts, very slowly, looking somewhere else. He is not being difficult. He has been doing this for 25 years. And in 25 years, he has learned that the companies worth keeping are the ones that hear him the first time. In March, Ray joins the Monday meeting by phone. This is normal. He does it 3 or 4 times a year. The call lasts 40 minutes. Marcus talks about prices for 11 of them. Greg talks about the new machine they want to buy. Somebody talks about the parking behind the warehouse, for some reason, for 6 full minutes. Ray says very little. Twice he starts a sentence and somebody else finishes it for him, which is the sort of thing that leaves no evidence at all. Near the end, when people are already closing their laptops and standing up, he says one short sentence. "We need this before winter, not after." Nobody stops. Greg is already talking about something else. Marcus says, "Great, thanks, Ray," and ends the call. In the corner, Claire writes the sentence down, word for word, and underlines it twice. That evening, at home, Claire writes her email. The subject line is Harper, timing. It is 3 lines long. She writes exactly what Ray said. Then she asks one question. Which winter does he mean? This one or next one? Because those are 2 completely different answers for us. She reads it twice, thinks about making it softer, decides not to, and sends it at 10 o'clock. Marcus sees it arrive. He is on a call with another client at that moment, and he thinks, quite honestly and with no bad intention at all, I will read that in the morning. In the morning, there are 41 unread emails in his inbox. He starts at the top and works down until his first meeting. Claire's email is no longer near the top. It is never opened. In April, Brightwater makes a big decision. They buy the new machine. It is faster. It is better. It costs more money than the company has ever spent on anything in 11 years, and it will be installed, tested, and running by the spring of next year. Marcus tells the team it is the best thing they have done in a decade. People clap. Greg says it will change everything, and for once nobody talks over him. Claire looks at the numbers on her own screen, and she sees something the room does not see. Until that machine is running, They cannot make more boxes than they make today. Not one more. Which means that if Harper Foods needs a larger volume before the spring, Brightwater cannot give it to them. Not at any price. Not for any reason. She writes that in the notebook, on the same page as the sentence from March, and draws a line between the two. The summer is quiet, but quiet is not the same as nothing, and Claire keeps noticing small things. Ray stops joining the calls. Instead, somebody younger joins, a polite man who cannot decide anything and who says he will check and come back to us. The orders get smaller, not dramatically. 5%, then 5% again the following month. Once, Harper asks to split a large order into two smaller ones, for reasons that are never explained and that nobody asks about. Nobody in the meeting room thinks any of this is news. Orders go up and down. Summer is always slow. Everyone has a comfortable explanation, and the comfortable explanation is always available. Claire writes down every single one of these things with the date beside it. By August, there are 9 of them. In July, she tries. She actually tries. At the end of the meeting, when people are already standing up and gathering their cups, she says it quietly. I think Harper is looking somewhere else. Greg answers without lifting his head from his phone. Clients always do that in the summer. Marcus nods, says, right. Okay, good, and moves to the next item on his list. The whole attempt lasts 11 seconds. Claire sits back down and puts her hands flat on the table. She does not try a second time. That evening, she sends another email, longer than usual, 6 lines, and all 9 dates. Here is the part about being right that people forget. Claire's mother never told her to speak louder. She told her to listen, and Claire listened so well that she knew the truth 6 months before anybody else in that building. But being right in a notebook is worth absolutely nothing. The truth only starts to matter at the moment somebody opens it. And that part is not up to the person doing the writing. That is the quiet, unfair thing sitting in the middle of this story. And Claire already understood it by July. She kept writing anyway. I want you to notice that, because it is the part I find hardest to explain. On the 22nd of September, Harper Foods sends an email. The contract will not be renewed. There is no argument in it, no warning, no real explanation. They have found a supplier who is opening new capacity in November. And that is the whole reason, in one line. Marcus reads it twice, then a third time. 40% of the company's income gone in half a page, from a client who had renewed 7 years in a row. He sits in his office for a long time and does not open the door. Let me tell you what 40% actually means, because it is easy to hear a number and feel nothing. It means the new machine is suddenly a problem instead of a triumph. It is paid for over 4 years, and they have just lost the orders that were going to pay for it. It means 2 people in the warehouse are told in October that their hours are being cut. Both of them have been there longer than Marcus. It means Greg spends the autumn calling companies who do not call him back, and comes into the office on Saturdays, which he has never done in his life. Nobody at Brightwater says the word out loud, but everybody is doing the same arithmetic in their heads, at their desks, in the car on the way home. The next Monday meeting is the quietest one in 7 years. Marcus stands at the end of the table with his arms folded. He does not sit down. He asks the room one question. What happened? Did anyone hear anything? Anything at all? Greg looks at the table. Somebody clears their throat. Nobody answers him. For the first time in that room, nobody is talking over anybody. It is completely silent. And it is a terrible silence, because it is the sound of a room that has nothing to say. In the corner, Claire opens her notebook. She finds page 41 and reads it out loud. Her voice is not dramatic. It is just very clear. March the 9th. Harper Foods, Ray Fletcher. We need this before winter, not after. Nobody in the room moves. Marcus says, "Why did nobody tell me this?" Claire closes the notebook, and she says, "I did tell you. I sent it to you that evening." Marcus opens his laptop. He types the word Harper into the search box. And it is there, March the 9th, 10 in the evening. Subject: Harper, timing, unopened. It was not a beautiful moment. It never is. Marcus defended himself first. He said he gets 100 emails a day, which is true, and which is also not an answer to the question. Then he stopped talking. He left the room, and nobody saw him for 2 hours. Claire went back to her desk and did her afternoon's work, because there was an order due on Thursday, and it did not care about any of this. She opened a job website twice that week. Both times she closed it again without applying for anything. Dana said the only right thing anybody said to her that month: "You did not lose, you just did not get opened." A month later, Marcus changed one thing. 1. The Monday meeting no longer starts with him. The first 10 minutes belong to one person only. Whoever wrote down what the client actually said that week in their own words. Nobody enjoys it. Greg hates it and says so roughly once a fortnight. But in November, a new client called Pello Bakery mentions something in passing about their delivery dates. Half a sentence at the very end of a call on the way out of the conversation. And Marcus put his hand up and stopped the meeting and said, "Wait, what did he just say?" And every single person in that room turned and looked at the same corner.